Okay, I'm back with the emotional side of things. So I'm just going to read to you what I came up with. So just to reiterate what the topics were under emotional block. So inflexibility in your perception of the future, arrogant or stubborn personality, to consider that there might be easier ways to face your future, and that with an inflexible attitude that guarantees dis-ease in going forward physically into the future. So dis-ease is written in this book with like a dash, right? So not necessarily like physical disease, but dis-ease in life. So here's my journal entry. So it does feel like my perception of the future has remained the same for a long time, but I'm not really sure how to perceive it in a more flexible way. I don't really perceive any external forces asking me to be flexible because I don't really have anyone or anything in my life who is invested in my future. So therefore, no one and nothing is asking me to be more flexible in the 3D. So in contemplating that, I kind of was like, I could see that it's difficult for me to say like that I am being like inflexible or perceived as inflexible because there's nothing in the physical world that's asking me to do anything any differently. So like I could see, like, let's say, for example, I was in a relationship and I was being stubborn and arrogant and inflexible in that relationship, it would be like more clear, right? That there might be like, if somebody has something to offer to me, that if I was being like rigid and not listening to that as like insight or advice or whatever, that's a really tangible thing that I could look at. But I don't have that because I'm single, and I don't have like basically my life that I live it doesn't really, like, how I spend my day, etc., what I do with my time, how I see my future, it doesn't really affect anybody close to me in that it affects their life. So part of me was like, okay, well, maybe this has to do with being inflexible on a more spiritual level, right? That like I'm not actually spending enough time in like meditation or doing like work like this, journal work, to listen to spirit, to be more flexible about my future in that sense. So that's something that like is a tangible takeaway from this, that where's my pencil? I should be writing this down before I forget it. I'll write it down later when I watch the video. Because that's one really important thing about doing inner work like this. It's like one thing to get to insight, but if you don't actually use your insight to take tangible action in the world, nothing changes, right? So that's one insight for me to explore more, is to look for like that connection to God, to spirit, the creator, for direction in my life and in my future, rather than really being stuck on this idea of how it should look. Because I am one of those people that does do a lot of visioning and like writes lists and makes plans. So yeah, if nobody else is a part of my life, then I will just continue to push forward in the plans I've set for myself. And I could see that I'm not actually coming up with all of those visions from the inside. Some of it's very up here rather than like in my heart or in my gut. So that's some insight here. Okay, so going on. The other place in the physical, so like in the 3D, so the only place that I can see that I'm inflexible is that I have a rigid routine and I feel resistance to changing it to accommodate others other than my children. Like I always jump at the chance to spend time with my children, right? They're like young, they're adults. So, when your 19-year-old daughter or your 24-year-old son wants to spend time with you, you jump at that, right? But I don't, like, I'm kind of resistant to making new friends, for example, because I kind of perceive it as like, now I've got to, take time out of my schedule, and now I'm not going to have that time to do what I plan to do or expect to do. Like, I'm really rigid about my schedule. And I could see, like, when it talks about like this, like potentially like arrogance, I could see this aspect of my personality as being perceived as arrogant, because the only time I feel compelled to like actually spend time and make a new friend is if that is somebody who is specifically like into the things that I'm passionate about, right? Like, it's like very like they have to be like really into like spirituality. So like our conversations are all about spirituality, or they need to be into business. Like, if somebody is like into that, then like I find I want to spend time with them. I want to talk about that. So yeah, it all seems to be like I don't just have friends for like just the sake of having friends, if that makes sense. Like, I'm just very, I guess, to me, like that realm of friendship, like where for other people it might be about like connection and community and emotions. For me, that is a part of it, but it's kind of like I have like a filter through which I'm not interested in making that like connection unless people fall into those categories of things that I feel I'm like super passionate about. So in some ways that can really seem arrogant, right? Like, I don't like my neighbors when they want to make small talk with me, probably to get to know me. Like, that's what you do, right? To get to know somebody in the beginning, you start with small talk and you move on from there. But like, I find it like, I don't want to, like, I'm just like, I don't know you. Like, I don't know what you're into. Like, I see that you're inside watching like, TV, and I don't watch TV, right? Like, I'm reading a book or I'm learning something or whatever, right? So I have a resistance to just connecting with people for the sake of connecting with people. So I've known this about myself, and I was kind of like feeling like kind of ashamed of it. Like, there's something wrong with me. Like, why am I not a normal person? Normal people, like, they always want to go out and socialize. They always want to meet new people. They just like, the only time I'm like that is when I've had a couple drinks, right? Where I don't care. Like, I just want to like socialize and hang out. But in my normal state of consciousness, I don't. Like, I'd rather be by myself, because then I can dive into the things I'm passionate about, right? So I can see that as perceived as arrogant. And it is, after learning some astrology, I've come to like acceptance around this, in the sense of like not making myself wrong, but I can see it as being arrogant. And how this fits into my chart is that my in my 11th house is Capricorn. I'm Capricorn in the 11th house. So it's almost just like that house of friends for me is about business. It's like, it has to like have there's a reason for this friendship. Like, we are going to manifest something together. Like, that's kind of how I connect to that. So anyways, I can see that would be considered arrogant. And yeah, I guess I can see that if I was not so rigid about my schedule, then I probably would feel more open to just chit-chatting with people for the sake of connecting and whatever, and not being all about business or health or spirituality or, whatever. So yeah, I could see that actually, that if that rigidity does affect that aspect of my life, that there's definitely like a disconnect there between just that normal like connection and community and my rigidity around my schedule. So I see it there for sure. Okay. So I'm resistant to making new friends that are unrelated to my passions in life. And then I put arrogance. And I'm resistant to dating because I'm guaranteed that will interfere with my schedule. And then I wrote, however, that stems from the feeling that if I don't control my schedule, I'll drop balls and I need to pay my bills. Right? So I'm afraid of wasting my time when I need to be getting ahead for my future. So in a sense, it's kind of, maybe this is where this like sense of rigidity also shows up to, again, block another form of connection, right? So there's the friends connection, but then the other connection is like, a life partner. And so it's a challenge for me to date, because then I have to spend time in small talk before I get to know somebody to determine if I want to go further. But you have to spend so much time, right, with dating, and if you're going to go on apps and all this kind of stuff. So definitely have like some resistance and around that for those reasons. And just the experience of having wasted time doing that in the past. Like I've been single now for like, it's probably 3 years. I haven't gone on a dating site probably in like 4 years. But yet I'm 100% open, willing, and ready for the right relationship, the right person. That's the kind of person I want to be flexible and spend time with, and but it's just the like getting there, right? Like actually having to put that time in. Because I'm afraid that I'll waste time with people trying to figure this out, and then all these balls will drop in my vision of my future and like my work and everything. So that's definitely something going on there. So again, I think that I need to be more flexible about my schedule. Okay. And then the stubborn part of it. So I will not give up anything that I've started. Like, I start a lot of things. So, and finishing those things is difficult. So I am carrying a lot forward. So for me, it's like, I create something, and then where I think it would be done, then I just keep moving the bar forward, right? So it's never done, if that makes sense. But then I don't quit. I just keep bringing all these things unfinished forward. So that's where I'm stubborn, I think, is, it's a stubborn perfectionism, that kind of thing together. Okay, and this is my final paragraph on this topic. So there might be easier ways to go forward for sure, but I guess I'm stuck in this place where it feels like letting someone into my life is a gamble. Either having a man in my life will make my future easier or harder. And so far, my experience is that letting a man into my life has been more of a setback or disabling, and has never actually created an easier future for me. So that's quite interesting, right? Like even that word disabling came through. And to think back to where I was when my knee issue first started, it was quite disabling. So I think that this rigidity around my schedule, and making my connection with people like not as important in my life as following my schedule. I think this rigidity is definitely connected to this aspect of my knee. And it's definitely like there to protect me. That's absolutely for sure. Like I am definitely like that to protect myself. So there you have it. That's what I got so far, diving into the emotional side of this. So I will see you in the next part where I work on the mental side of it.